what is stress?
Generally, I consider stress as any mental strain that a person feels due to a number of causal factors.
What is job stress then?
Job stress for me, I think job stress pertains to the specific determinants that result from a work environment, such as those of peer pressure when it comes to deadlines requirements entailing certain business deals.
So does that mean for us students, our job stress comes from school itself?
If we consider school or our institution as the work environment, it may be considered job stress.
So how does these things that cause stress affect you?
Personally, I sometimes feel that it damages my mental health, and that it but for a positive note, it poses as a challenge or an obstacle for me to overcome, to surmount, in order to better improve myself.
So does these things that cause stress bring more harm or good to you, in
Well,
your opinion?
In my own personal experience and in my own perspective, I believe that they pose affirmative results, that they test you, but they do not limit you to a certain degree.
So a technique we can do as students is to find these things that cause stress to push us to our limits and bring the best out.
Yes.
Is that right?
I think that it's best for a person, for a student, to see that this so-called stress, they need to perceive them in another way, that is not merely an anchor for them to be lowered.
Yes.
Rather, they should rise up with that anchor to prove themselves better than who they used to be.
If there's too much stress, how do you then relieve this?
Well, it depends from person to person,
Yeah.
but for me, I do what any other person would do. I guess I play games, I listen to music, I watch movies, and those are the activities that truly help me in relaxing and catching a breath.
Because we're so caught up with school, we sometimes forget how stress feels. What are the signs of stress?
For me, I see signs of stress when I do not have a clear line of thought as to what I would want to do, and whenever I experience, whenever I'm writing something, I sometimes do not remember what's the intention or purpose of what I'm writing.
Okay. So is there a link between stress and illnesses?
For me, since I'm conducting a study that pertains to mental illness, I see a connection between stress and those, as you have mentioned, illnesses, particularly in that of mental illnesses.
So how do you meditate that out without how do you meditate during stressful situations to come back to yourself?
So what I have said, I immerse myself in various activities, but in terms of meditation, I see myself meditating the most when I listen to music and get myself into the beat and just the soothing sounds and expressions of what the music tells me.
Then how do you manage your time in these situations? Like time management.
In terms of time management, I sometimes align myself with those of the time management procedures of actual successful people, such as those in the case of Bill Gates, when he said that from time to time he I think it was 20 minutes, they allot 20 minutes of time just to meditate and go back as to what their train of thought was in the midst of what they were doing.
So in these situations, to keep working is not always the solution, right? You need to give time for yourself, okay? Especially coming from you. What is your advice to those who are stressed?
To those who are stressed, the number one thing that I would advise is that they should change their perceptions as to what stress is. It's not merely an obstruction for you to stop. It does not dictate you to hinder yourself from ever going forward. And that next, whenever you are stressed and you feel that you are getting weaker and weaker as you face it and you do not have the power to overcome it, you should rest. There is always time for rest, and even though it's 5 to 10 minutes, it's still rest, and you should consider that rest as enough for you to come back and overcome those obstacles.
Thank you. Yun na, nakatapos na tayo.
And it's-
Okay, thank you.